Good morning, everyone. I hope that all is well. I just want to take this opportunity. I've been asked by many friends of mine, many students, just to come up with transactions around conveyancing. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that maybe I explain. So I just came up with a question. So I'm gonna use this question just to explain the basics around conveyancing. Okay, but before we can proceed, guys, I just need a favor. For our channel to grow, guys, we need to have more subscribers. Please, I know some of you are just viewing and then you're not subscribing, but for me to continue, just posting, so I need this channel to grow. Please just do me a favor, just go and subscribe. Remember, by subscribing, you are not gonna lose any cent. So please just support the channel so that we can continue this for the foreseeable future. So let's make sure that, guys, let's subscribe. It's just the only thing that I'm asking from you. Okay. Let's not waste time. So let's just try to make sure that we analyze this transaction. So here we have got a client by the name of S Social, and then these are the transactions for S Social for the month of March 2021. Okay. So on the 8th of March, S Social sold his house for 165 to D Distance. So meaning S Social is our seller and D Distance is our buyer. D Distance, the buyer, instructed us to transfer the house. Can you see now? So meaning we are going to transfer the house to D Distance. So this means that at the moment we have got two clients. We have got S Social, who is selling the house, and we've got D Distance, who instructed us to transfer the house between the seller and the buyer. The purchaser, who is D Distance, is going to be responsible for the cost of transfer. On the same day, we received 65,000 from D Distance, the purchaser, as a deposit for that particular house. Can you see now? And the remainder will be financed by the bank. D Distance, the buyer, also requested us to invest the deposit that he paid, which is how much? 65,000, to invest it. Remember, so in other words, for time being, we'll be putting this 65,000 in an investment account. It means at the same time we will be earning interest on behalf of D Distance. So what we need to do, we need to go and make sure that we are open some accounts. So firstly, I need to have trust books, and thereafter we must have business books. So we've got trust bank account. Obviously, the money that you receive from the clients must always be in the trust bank account. You must also have a social, remember, trust, because we owe him, and then he's the seller, and we must also have D Distance, trust, creditor, buyer. So I only put this seller, buyer, creditor so that you can understand better. I must not also forget to have what you call the investment account. Remember, we have been requested to go and invest the deposit that we received from D Distance. So now if we go back to the information, on the 8th, we just sold. We sold the house, but we didn't receive this 165,000. We only received 65,000 as a deposit. So we must make sure that we go to the trust bank account to show that we received that 65,000. So we received it on the 8th. Remember, if I receive money in the trust bank account, I must always put it on the debit side. So, but this amount was received from D Distance. Okay, we received the money from D Distance. And then folios, not that important, but I can say trust cash receipts. I can just put TCR, and I received 65,000. Remember, this money belongs to D Distance. So again, on the D Distance here, I must just make sure that maybe I write trust, or I can just write T if I don't have enough space. Can you see? So I'm just going to do it like that. Can you see? So trust like that. So, but because of space, let me just do this so that we cannot lose space. I'm going to just T. T will stand for what? For trust. Okay. So let's make sure that we understand how to do that. But because this money is in the trust bank account, I must also show that this money belongs to D distance. I must go to the credit side of D distance. Remember, I must apply the double entry system. So I'm going to go to the credit side of the D distance, but I must show again the date, March. Can you see now? And then, but this money comes from the trust bank account. Can you see? Trust cash receipt, and how much? 65,000. Can you see? This shows that Distance has got money in his account, but that money is recorded in the bank. Okay, I think you remember this simple situation. Okay, let's go back to the book, to the information. And remember, D Distance requested us to go and invest that particular deposit until the transfer. So it means we must go and make sure that we deposit or we invest that amount of money. But remember, for me to invest, it means I must go to the bank, take that money. For me to take that money out, I must go to the credit side and I must take that amount of money to the investment. Can you see now? So again, it's like I'm taking money, I'm paying that money to the investment. Let's say investment is ABSA, so I'm paying money to ABSA. So I'm gonna have trust cash payments. Can you see now? And then I'm gonna say I took out how much? 65,000. Can you see if you can try to balance this account? You have got nothing left in the trust bank account because you took that amount of money, you took it to the investment account. And remember, investment is an asset, and obviously investment increase on the debit side. But even if you don't understand that it's an asset, you can apply the double entry system. Because you credited here, you will come and debit. Can you see now? It gives you that answer. And then it means you took the money from the trust bank account. Okay? And then trust cash payment, and then you get how much? 65,000. Can you see now the investment has got 65,000 in it? And then the bank has got nothing in it because the money has been taken out of the bank account. Okay? So I want you to understand that. Now let's go and try to look at the other information. On the 9th, what happened on the 9th? We paid the transfer duties of 6,000 to SARS. Remember, who is responsible for the transfer duties and the cost of transfer? The purchaser is responsible for the cost of transfer, okay? And the transfer duty, all the cost of transfer. So it means we must go and pay 6,000. But let's go and check. If you can check in the trust bank account, the amount we received from D Distance is 65,000, but that amount was taken out. So it means at the moment, we don't have money in the trust bank account that we can use to pay SARS because the money has been taken to what? To the investment. So it means we have to use our own bank account to make sure that we pay the transfer duties. So what we need to do, we need to go to our own business account, which is bank, even though I don't have a balance, but it's okay. I'm going to go to the bank. Remember, if I pay out of the business bank account, for this one, I'm just going to say, let's say, for example, in the bank, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to come up with this balance, guys. But if they don't give it to you, it's okay. Let's say the balance that I had, I'm just going to say maybe on the 1st of March. I know I didn't put the balance here, guys, but I'm just trying to give an example. 1st of March, let's see the balance brought down. The balance brought down. Let's say we had something like 100,000 in the bank. Can you see? But if there's no balance, no problem. So let's say we've got 100,000 here. So it means we will pay this amount of money on behalf of what? Of D Distance, because there's no money in the trust bank account. So if we had money in the trust bank account, I was supposed to come and take money from the trust bank account. But now there's no money here. So we'll use our own bank account on the 9th. Okay? On the 9th, obviously we need to pay. We're going to pay SARS. Can you see now? But remember, I need to show that this money, I cannot just pay for the client. The client will owe me. That's why I need to show that I paid on behalf of D Distance. So I'm just going to write distance for now, guys. I'm going to say distance. Distance Can you see? And I'm gonna say distance. Remember, I'm showing you that he owes me. I'm gonna say distance B. So B will stand for business. Remember, if I the word business, it means this person owes me. So let me just write B. Yeah, if I write B means business. If I write T means trust. So I'm gonna say, but in brackets, I must just say, just to be specific, I must just say SARS, because we pay that to SARS. Sorry, still in the morning, so obviously effect. And then we paid. This one I can just say business cash payments. Can you see? If I want to have the folio, and obviously I had to pay how much? 6,000 to SARS. So even if you don't write these distance like what I did here, let me just do it. Even if you don't write D distance in brackets SARS, even if you write SARS only, it's still okay. But for me, I like writing D distance in brackets SARS, because by the time when I transfer, everything is going to be easy for me. But when I put SARS only, by the time when I have to apply the double entry system, it's going to be difficult for me, because sometimes I will end up opening SARS by mistake. Can you see now? So the main account here is distance B, distance business, because it means distance owes me that 6,000. So at the same time, I must go to distance under his account on the debit side. Let's go and find distance business. Distance business. So we don't have it. I'm going to open distance business here quickly. Okay, I'm going to put it down there. I'm going to put it down there. Doesn't matter. Let me see. But this one is going to be distance. D distance. Distance business. Can you see? So I must come here on the, it was on the what? On the 9th, if I'm not mistaken, 9th of March. And then remember, that is the amount that I recorded there. So business bank account. Can you see? I'll write business bank. Comes from the business bank. And obviously I'm gonna say business cash payment. And then obviously 6,000. Can you see this makes sense? So remember, the distance owes me. So let me just write it. It's my data. So by recording on the debit side here, it means D distance owes us 6,000 because we paid out of our own bank account. Remember, if we had money in the trust for this distance, we didn't come and record under business bank account. We're supposed to go and take money from the trust. Obviously, we're supposed to credit trust and say D distance trust in brackets SARS and affect what D distance trust. But I can't, because we used our own money, so we had to pay for him. So what we are going to do, we're going to make sure that we show that D distance owes us how much? 6,000. Remember, it's a data and a data increase on the debit side. Now let's take it further. On the 11th of March, okay, on the 11th of March, what happens? D distance repaid us the sum of how much? 6,000, meaning he paid us this 6,000. Can you see now? Together with a further 3,000, including VAT, on account on our fees. In other words, after we paid for him, he paid us in how much? 6,000 back. So meaning he paid what he owed us. So we also received 3,000 from him for the fees we charged. Can you see now? So what we need to do, we need to go back to the books and show that he paid us. Remember, we can't affect Trust Bank because Trust Bank was not involved at all. So what we need to do, we must go and receive the 6,000 that we paid. But how can I receive that? It means I must come here on the debit side because we're receiving that cash back. So I'm going to say the date was what? The 11th, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go and check. The 11th of March. Okay, on the 11th of March, okay, we received money from what? From distance business. Remember, I'm going to say B. And that money obviously is the one that we paid to SARS. And then obviously when we receive, we can call it business cash receipt. Okay. And we received how much? 6,000. You see now? So we received that 6,000 that we paid on his behalf. But at the same time, we need to go and affect distance account to show that he paid us. So we need to go to distance. Obviously, I can apply the double entry system because here I have debited. And you see, I have debited here. So it means when I go to the distance, I must go to the credit side. Can you see? I must go to the credit side and say the 11th of March. Can you see now? And then business bank. Okay. Business cash receipt and how much? 6,000. Can you see that now distance doesn't owe me that 6,000 anymore? Can you see now? But remember, at the same time, we also received 3,000 from the distance for the fees that belongs to us. So I must also show that he paid us. Remember, we cannot just say he paid us without showing that he owes us. Firstly, we need to go and charge that fee. And after charging that fee is then that we can receive the money. So what we need to do, we need to go to the distance and charge him first. How will I show that I charged him a fee? Obviously, I must come to the debit side. Remember, debit side is where the asset increase. To show that I charged a fee, I must come to the debit side. Remember, it was also on the 11th. I must charge a fee. Remember, they said that fee is including VAT. So I'm going to write fee and VAT. Okay. And then how, okay, obviously, this is a fee. So it will affect a fee journal. I'm going to say FJ. Can you see now? So FJ means fee journal. So we charged how much? Let's go and check. We charged 3.3, including VAT. So remember, the amount must include VAT. So I must say 3.3 because it must include VAT. You must be careful because if they didn't say that it is including VAT, you couldn't calculate VAT unless if they said all the amounts are inclusive of VAT. Can you see now? So this one we've been told that the amount is including VAT. That's why I said fee and VAT. But if this amount was excluding VAT and the VAT was not applicable for this exercise, I was supposed to write only fee. Can you see now? Now, the fact that now I said fee and VAT, it means I'm going to go and affect the fee account. Remember, fee account is an income to us. And I must also go and affect VAT. So it doesn't matter which one can we start with. Okay, so we can start with VAT. Let me open a VAT account quickly. So I'm going to have VAT here. Let me just open VAT. I'm just going to put here at the bottom. I'm going to call it VAT. And call it VAT control, doesn't matter. We can start with VAT or fee, doesn't matter, but let's start with VAT. Remember, VAT is currently 15%, and this amount is including 15%. So I know that when I go to the fee, remember, everything is on the debit side. When I go to the fee, I know that I'm going to go to the opposite side. The same applies to VAT. When I go to VAT, I'm going to go to the opposite side. Meaning, under VAT, I will go to the credit side. Remember, this is the credit for VAT. Let me just write it down. This is the credit for VAT. So meaning I must come to the credit side. The date is the 11th. As you can see, I'm still going to write the 11th of March. And then I'm going to say I took it from what? The distance. I'm going to say distance. Remember, I must not forget is business because I took it from the business. And thereafter, what can I do? I can calculate. Okay, I can calculate. I can show you the calculation here. Remember, it's the folio. They still FJ is the fees journal. The amount is, I'll calculate here. So I'm gonna take 3.3, 3,300 multiply. Remember, VAT is included. 15 divided by 115. Okay, I think you still remember how to do that. Okay, 15 divided by 115. So let's see how much we get. 3,300 times 15 divided by 115. We got, can you see, 430. I'll convert this to the nearest rands. So let me just format it quickly to the nearest rands. Formatting. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to make sure that we to the nearest rands. I don't need any decimals. Can you see now? It means I've got 430, and this is the calculation. Okay, remember this is the calculation. Can you see now? So I've got 430 as VAT. Can you see now? So remember, I must also go to the fee because we've set fee here. Again, fee on the credit because here is on the debit side. Remember the fee on the credit side here. I must do this. Okay, so I'm going to say again, the date is the 11th of March. Okay, and remember again is the distance. B, don't forget the B because it's the business, and then it's because of the fee journal. And then how can I find this? Very easy, because now the amount was 3.3 and the VAT was 430. What can I do? I'll just say 3.3 minus 430. Can you see now? We just have to minus there. 3.3 minus 430. Can you see now? So meaning amount for fees. Can you see the fee must exclude VAT? Can you see the fee must exclude VAT? So now our fee is how much? It's 2,870, and then the VAT was how much? 430. So if you add them together, you will go back to 3.3. Can you see? So now we charged. Can you see we charged this amount? Is now that we can receive, because they said he paid us that amount of money. So when he pays, obviously we're gonna get that cash. So because he's paying, I must come here. Remember, if someone pays, obviously I must reduce. So I must come here. I can also come here first because he's paying us. So I can come here and receive that cash first, still on the 11th. I received money from what? From the distance. I'm gonna say distance. Can you see? Now I received business cash receipt, and I received how much? 3.3. Listen now. So meaning I must go to B now and ensure that he paid us. Under which side? Double entry. I'm gonna go to the credit side. I must go to the credit side and say on the 11th. I think is the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm gonna say yes, we received that money in the business bank. Can you see now? And then you say business cash receipt, and we say how much? 3.3. Can you see now? So you need to be careful here to receive this 3.3, because if I could just say he paid me 3.3 without charging, you must first charge the fee. So the minute you see the fee, you charge first before you can receive. Remember, this fee is not a transfer one because it did not go through the trust. It was the amount of money that I paid on their behalf. That's why here at the moment I don't have any transfer, and at the same time we charged a fee, so I cannot go and affect the trust because the amount was given to us as cash. It didn't go through the trust. Okay, so we need to be careful of that. Hopefully things make sense, guys. Okay, let's continue. After 11th, we go to the 28th. What happened on the 28th? The transfer to distance was registered. The transfer was registered. Can you see now? And remember, when it was registered, they say we received 110. Okay, so let me change it to make that. Let's say we received 100 and I think I made it. Let me make it 100,000. I don't want to make it 110. Let me change it. We received 100,000 because obviously the deposit was 65. So I just made a mistake here. So we received 100,000 on presenting the bank guaranteed. Remember, we said the bank would give us, they guaranteed to give us this amount of money. Can you see now? So we received that amount of money. So at the end of the day, we receiving this payment from the bank. And at the same time, we debited a fee. Can you see we charged a fee? We debited a fee, which is including VAT on the transfer. Now, firstly, we need to make sure that we receive this 100. Okay, we need to receive this 100,000 from the bank. But remember, even though you received it from the bank, this money belongs to D Distance because the bank is buying this property on behalf of D Distance. So don't worry about the bank. Just take it like you are receiving money from D Distance. So what we are going to do, we're going to go and receive that 100,000 in the trust bank account. Okay, because this money now is given by the bank. So in the trust bank account, I'm going to receive that amount of money. So the date was, let's check, the 28th. So the 28th of March, I received money is for distance. Don't write after there. No, it's going to confuse you. Just write distance, but it belongs to him is trust. You can see, but you can just write in brackets for that for the sake of understanding. Just say guaranteed one. Can you see? Guaranteed. Just write guaranteed. I think it will make sense so that someone just understand what you're talking about here. So guaranteed, and if you receive, obviously, you just say trust cash receipt. Trust cash receipt. And how much do we receive? We received 100,000. Can you see? The one that was outstanding, the guaranteed one. Can you see now? So at the same time, we must go to, remember, this is the debit. Okay. At the same time, we need to go to distance trust on the, distance trust, yes. On the credit side. Can you see now? It shows that we owe him now. March. Okay. Trust bank. Remember, again, you can write in brackets so that you can, it doesn't matter. You can just write in brackets and say the guaranteed one. See, doesn't matter. Let me do this to make the guaranteed one, and then TCR. Sorry, it's in the morning, you know, some typing is something else. And how much? 100,000. You see now? Can you see now? We have got this amount of money. Can you see now? So again here, I think the investment was made. I think we were supposed to, we invested this amount. Yes. So yeah. So now I think all is well so far. Okay, yes. So I think we are following. So this is how I want you to look at it. Okay. So hopefully, guys, you're following. So you just have to be careful and know what's going on. Okay. So let's go back to the question. Remember, we received that 100,000. So this is how we did that. We received it back in the bank account, and now we must show that it belongs to what? To distance. Okay. So we need to make sure that we account for that. Now, if we continue, let's see. Remember, at the same time, we charged a fee. So we must go and charge a fee. Remember, charging a fee, you must always come here. Remember, we are talking about the distance. We're talking about, let me just escape here. The distance, I must charge a fee, the 28th March. Must say it's including VAT. I will just say fee and VAT. Remember, a fee goes to the fee journal. And how much did we charge? Let's see, 2,640. 2,640. Remember, it must include VAT. So now I must do the same thing. Let's go to VAT first and try to calculate VAT. On the 28th, VAT. Okay. Remember, it's D distance. Distance business. FJ. Can you see? Same. And then 2,640 times over 115. 2,640 times 15 over 115. So I'm also going to convert to the nearest. Let me just convert it. But if they don't tell you to the nearest, you can also have decimals. It's up to you. Okay. So that is going to be 344. And again, I must go to the fee. Remember, the same way on the 28th. Okay. And we have the distance. FJ, fees journal. Difference between 2,640 minus, it was how much VAT? 344. 344. Okay. And then you have that amount. Can you see? Easy. like that, easy like that. You just have to follow whatever they are telling you to do. Okay, you need to make sure that you follow at all times. Okay, now let's take it further. Let's see how far can we go. And again, remember, you need to be careful here. Again, we received 850 from the investment. In other words, we withdrew the investment. Remember, that investment was until registration, but now because we are registering, so now we are receiving back what? Our investment that we made on behalf of this distance, and we also had an interest. So we need to go and make sure that in the trust we received that amount of money. So what I need to do, I need to go back. We received 850 as what? As the interest. So we must go back to the investment because remember we invested how much? 5. So now we have got to withdraw. We're gonna get our 65,000 back together with the interest of 850. If you can check here. So the interest was 850. So now I must make sure that I withdraw from the investment. So when I withdraw from investment, I'm going to say, okay, I'm taking it out. The date was what? And let me just check here. The date. The date was the 28th. So I'm gonna say on the 28th. Remember, I'm getting my investment back. Can you see? On the 28th, I need to make sure that I take this money to, that is the investment one. Okay, so I can just say trust cash receipt, and how much? I'm going to get 65 plus 850. Remember the amount that I invested plus the interest that I got. Okay, 850. Let's see. So can you see? This is the amount I got. So at the same time, I must go and take it to the trust bank account. Remember, I'm getting it back now. So trust bank account on the 28th. So this money is for, remember, this is from the investment. I'm just going to call it investment. Yes. Okay. Trust cash receipt. And how much was it, by the way? And the amount was 65850. 65850. You see, just like that. In other words, you received that 65,000 back, but it has got interest now. Can you see now? So we need to make sure that we know how to do that. Can you see now? Now we must go back to the investment. Remember, the investment now we need to close it, as you can see. So now, as you can see, the difference between the two will be that the 65,850 and the 65 will be the interest that we made. But because the investment is according to section 78(2)(a), it means the difference, the interest will go to what? To D distance at the end of the day. Can you see now? So the interest must be taken to D distance, 28 March. See, I'm going to say distance trust. Remember, we invested on his behalf. So when we get this particular investment back, we must give him the interest. Okay. Okay. So we need to make sure that we know how to do that. So I can just say this one is going to fall under the trust journal. There's something called trust journal. Okay. And then I'm just going to, what is the difference? Let me balance the account. So if I balance the account, it's going to be 65. The biggest amount here is 65. I think you still remember how to balance the account. 5, 850. And the difference is 65. That is the difference. Can you see? This is the interest that I'm talking about. So let me try to put some lines here. Put some lines here. Okay. To make it better. Okay, so can you see now the interest must be taken to what? Must be taken to the distance. It belongs to him. But if this investment was according to the Legal Practice Act, so the question must be very specific. It means only 95% would go to what? Only 95% would go to distance trust, and the 5% will go to Fidelity Fund. Remember, the Fidelity Fund is the fund that is being used so that the funds of the clients are protected. So if they said you should use Legal Practice Act, make sure that you only take 95% of this 850 to distance, and then here you are supposed to have Fidelity, and the 5% would go to Fidelity. Okay, so but here I'm showing you the investment according to section 78. That's why all the interest, let me just put it in brackets, guys. This is the interest. All the interest goes to our client because we're using that section. So in future, only 95% go to our client and 5% go to the Fidelity, meaning I was supposed to also have Fidelity account so that I can go and transfer. Okay. So now I will transfer this interest to distance T under which side? On the credit side. Can you see now? So I'm going to go and say I took it from the investment. So I'm going to say on the credit side, remember here is the debit side. So on the credit side of distance T, on the 28th, once again, I'm going to say I investment because I took that investment, that from the investment, the interest come from the investment. I can just write in brackets for the sake of reference. Can you see? And then I'm just going to say I trust, okay. And then I'm going to say, how much was it? 850. Can you see? It makes sense because now this belongs to him. Okay. So we need to make sure that we understand how to do that. Hopefully, all is well. Now, listen. This is nice if it is face to face. I'm telling you, if we were together in a room, you would understand better. But I think it makes the difference. We can just check it, guys. Hopefully, it's useful to you. So on the 31st of March, we accounted to both social and distance. Can you see now? So it means now we need to close the books, close the files, and account the amount of money. If we owe social, we're going to pay social. If we owe distance, we're going to pay distance. Okay. So what we need to do, we need to go and account. But firstly, we need to check if there's any fee that need to be transferred. So we need to go and check any fee. Can you see here we've got distance, our data here. We have got 2 fees. Okay. But if you can check, the fee on the 11th has been paid instantly. So we don't have to worry about that one is paid. But this one is the one that is not paid. So it means this is the one that I'm going to pay via the trust bank account. So meaning on the 31st, I need to make sure that I do the transfer. Remember, there's something called transfer. So I'm going to say on the 31st, I think it's the 31st of March, we need to do the transfer. Remember, the transfer is always between the business and the trust. So I'm going to say distance trust because I'm going to do the transfer. So I'm going to say transfer channel. So don't confuse this one and the T. And there's a transfer channel, there's a trust channel. Okay, so I'm going to call it transfer channel. I'm going to use a different color so that you cannot be confused with the other one because they've got the same abbreviation, but they mean something different. So I'm going to just change the color here. Like that. You see, I'm going to say transfer channel. So we need to transfer how much? 2640. So I'm going to say 2640. No. So in this transfer, remember I said distance trust. So I must go to the distance trust and transfer. Let's see. Distance trust. Can you see now? I'm going to, because here is from the credit side, I'm going to come to the debit side. That is the transfer. I think by now you know how to do the transfers. Okay. So I'm going to say 35 March. You must say distance business because it comes from business. And there's the transfer journal. Again, I'm gonna put it like this so that we can know that it's a transfer journal. And how much is it? 2640. Can you see? So it transferred. Can you see now? And remember, when you transfer, the transfer will always be between the business and the trust. But remember, the transfer doesn't end here. We must also go to the trust bank account and take this as the real cash. So we must go to the trust bank account. On the credit side, we take out that cash because now it is ours. And then we take it to our own business bank. So just for the sake of simplicity, just say this is the transfer. You know, maybe someone will ask you, why are we having too many business bank accounts? So just call it a transfer. Can you see? And then obviously here just say trust cash payment because you are paying, and then we're going to have 2640, and then you must also receive it under your bank account 31st March, and then we have got trust bank. Again, just for the sake of future reference, you can just write transfer. You don't have to do it, but that will give more so that we can get those marks. But it's okay, it doesn't affect your marks. I'm just saying it's better to do that. And we're receiving it is business cash receipt. Can you see now? And how much? 2640. Can you see now we dealt with our fee, so we're not owed anything. Even if you can go to the fees to the account there. So can you see this one? The fee here has been received, and this one has been transferred. So can you see? We've done the transfer. Okay. Now, as you can see here, we have got distance trust, and we've got what? Social here. So what we need to do at the moment, we need to make sure that we give S Social. Remember, S Social is the seller. So now S Social deserves the amount that we owe him. So we need to show that now we owe S Social. So how much was the amount all in all? Remember, S Social sold the house for 165. Now it means we must go to the trust bank account, take that amount, and give it to S Social. I hope this is making sense. Can you see now? So meaning we need to make sure that we take the amount. So what we are going to do, we're going to do this now. Okay. The amount, obviously, it was put in the trust bank account. Remember, the transaction is between S Social and distance. So what we need to do, remember, if I put the amount on the credit side of distance, it means this amount of money belongs to distance. But now I must take this amount of money. Remember, I'm closing the books now. I must take what belongs to Social. I will take it from what? From D distance. So for me to take amount of money from D distance, obviously I must come to the debit side. Remember, it's on the 31st. So on the 31st, take this amount. Can you see I'm affecting these two accounts? I'm going to take the amount from distance and I take it to Social. So I'm going to say Social. You see now, trust. This is called trust journal. Remember, trust journal is between the two trust accounts. So I'm going to have trust journal. Okay. Now let me just change it, put another color. I'm going to have the trust journal like that. This will be the trust journal. So I must transfer that selling price. Can you see now? Yes, I must transfer the selling price at the end of the day. Okay, I'm transferring the selling price. So at the end of the day, I take it to the social trust. Under which side? On the credit side of. So on the credit side here, I'm going to say the 31st March from distance trust. You see now? So trust journal. And then how much was it? It was 165. See now, so this can you see shows that now we owe the seller how much? 165. So remember, I'm just trying to transfer from the trust. Remember, this person, the distance owes social. So this money, the money that you see here belongs to distance at the moment, but now we must take it and pay. Remember, we transfer the cash when we transfer the property. So the transfer has been completed, so that's why I take whatever belongs to social out of what? Distance. So now distance has got, we owe distance how much? 165. But I must also show that this 165 must be taken out of what? Trust. Remember, whatever has been in this distance trust is put in what? It's in the bank. This is the real cash. So I must also go on the 31st and take money and pay what? Social. So I'm going to say social trust. You see now, I'm going to pay trust cash payments. I'm going to pay how much? 165. So I must also go to social and show that I paid social. Can you see? Say trust Inc. Cash payments and then 165. Can you see that I don't owe social anymore? I paid social. Can you see now? So we need to understand what is going on here. Now, after doing that, remember, we need to go and check social has been paid, but what about the distance? So we need to check the difference between the size and check if we owe anything, because sometimes after paying, you can find that we still have amount remaining under distance. So it means we'll also pay distance the remainder because he paid the selling price. So let's just try to balance the account and see if there's any difference. Which one is the biggest side? I'm not looking, just is equals to which one is the biggest? Let me just check which one is the biggest first. This one gives me 165,850. This one gives me 167. So what I'm gonna do, so it means here, can you see there's an irregularity which can happen in business. So let me close it. Equals sum. So I'm just gonna do this. Okay. 167. And I'm gonna do this. Remember how to balance the account. Yes. And now this one, the difference will be here. This amount minus this minus that minus that. I'm just trying to find the difference between the two. There's a difference. Normally the difference, can you see the difference is on the debit side. It's on the credit side. So in other words, at the end of the day, the distance will end up owing us something. Can you see? And then that one, obviously, we cannot pay it out of cash. So what we can do with this one, we can just call it balance. Carry it down. But it's very rare to find this situation. Remember, you can have irregularities, okay? And we must also have, this is the 31st. Remember, irregularities can take place in business. So this will be the balance maybe for next month. It's going to be the 1st of April, okay? And I'm going to have balance down. How much is 1790? Can you see? Unfortunately, this one, I just have to check. Can you see? So this is the one that is owed. So again, here you can balance the bank account, and here you can balance this one. Can you see now? So, but it doesn't matter. This one's so as social. Remember, we never charged as social anything. Okay. So I think we can anything, guys. So as long as I give you the basics, and hopefully this thing makes sense. Okay. So again, if you balance this, so we're gonna have a difference. So, but you can balance it if you want. But let's end here, guys. So I'm going to the next class now. I think this makes sense, guys. So I appreciate your time. Please don't forget to subscribe, guys. This will grow our channel. So this will motivate us to make sure that we post more. Okay. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Very much appreciated. Bye bye.